Most agency owners can't take a week off. Not really, right? So they go away and the phone still rings, decisions stall, and things fall through the cracks. And they come back to a mess. And they think that's a team problem, and it's not. It's a structural one. When there are no documented systems, no operational infrastructure, every question has only one place to go, you. And you become the operating system of your own business. And the bigger it gets, the harder that becomes to sustain. In this video, I'll show you why that happens, and I'm going to show you what changes when the business stops needing you to be in the room.
Why does everything in your agency still flow through you? Not because you want it to, not because you haven't tried to delegate, but because the business was never built to operate without you. Let's talk about what that actually means and what changes when it doesn't have to be that way. In most agencies, the owner is the system, not because they chose to be, but because nothing else exists to do the job. When there's no centralized operational infrastructure, the business runs on the owner's memory, relationships, and physical presence. Here's what a typical morning looks like. You arrive at the office or open your laptop at home, and before you can focus on anything strategic, the queue has already started. Price guide needs approval. Client complaint, nobody knows how to handle it. Settlement file missing a document. Team member calls in sick. None of these require your expertise, but they all route to you. By lunchtime, you've solved 15 problems and done zero of the work that actually moves the business forward. None of those tasks were complex. None of them required your specific expertise, but they all routed to you because the business has no documented process, no decision framework, and no delegation structure that would let anyone else handle them. Now, this trap shows up differently depending on your role. If you're the selling owner, you haven't called a single prospect, haven't prepared for an appraisal. Your day was consumed by operations instead of selling. If you're the leadership owner, you have no clear picture of what your agents are doing. You spent the morning solving problems a documented process would have handled. Different versions, same trap. Either way, the owner is operating, not leading. The business depends on their presence to function. And the bigger it grows, the heavier that dependency becomes. Every agency I walk into, the owner looks exhausted, and they all say the same thing: I just need to hire the right person, or I just need a better system. And I say, look, you don't have a people problem. You don't have a systems problem. You have an infrastructure problem. There is no mechanism in this business that absorbs what you're currently carrying. The owner isn't the operating system because they're a control freak. They're the operating system because the business was never built to operate without them. That's a structural failure. They're not a personal one. The owner doesn't become the operating system overnight. It happens gradually, driven by 4 specific infrastructure gaps. Each one is fixable, but most agencies have all 4 running simultaneously. That's why the problem feels overwhelming rather than solvable. Gap 1, no documented processes. When there's no written process for how the business handles listings, settlements, buyer inquiries, complaints, or daily admin tasks, every question goes to the person who knows the answer. That person is always the owner. The result is an invisible bottleneck. The team isn't incompetent. They're uninformed. They don't have access to the decisions and processes the owner carries in their head. So they ask every single time. Gap 2, no CRM and data structure. When the database and pipeline have no consistent structure, leads and follow-up live inside individual agents' heads, notebooks, or scattered spreadsheets. There's no single view of the pipeline, no consistent follow-up cadence, no way to know which leads are being worked and which are going cold. So the owner compensates by being the one who checks in, chases up, and keeps track, not because that's their job, but because nobody else can see what needs to happen next. Gap 3, no accountability systems. When there's no structured rhythm for reviewing performance, setting targets, and tracking outcomes, the owner becomes the accountability mechanism. Every conversation about performance, every check-in on targets, every did you follow up on that lead conversation. It happens because the owner drives it personally. This is exhausting in a way that isn't visible from the outside. The owner isn't just managing, they're carrying the emotional weight of being the only person in the business who holds the standard. Without them pushing, nothing gets measured and nothing gets done. Gap 4, no reporting visibility. When there's no dashboard or reporting structure, the owner has to be physically present to know what's happening. They sit in every meeting, read every email chain, ask the right questions at the right time, just to piece together a picture of how the business is actually performing. The owner can't step back because stepping back means going blind, and going blind means things fall through the cracks because without the owner watching, nobody else is tracking. Here's the compound effect. Most agencies don't have one of these gaps. They have all 4. And when all 4 are running simultaneously, the owner isn't just busy. They are structurally irreplaceable. The business literally cannot function without them, not because they're so talented, but because nothing else exists to do what they're doing. The cost is not just time. When the owner is the operating system, the damage compounds across every dimension of the business. It costs growth. Every hour the owner spends solving operational problems is an hour they're not spending on the work that actually moves the business forward. For the selling owner, that means missed listing appointments, unworked prospects, and revenue left on the table. For the leadership owner, it means no strategic direction, no pipeline oversight, no capacity to actually lead. Either way, the business stalls, not because the market is bad, but because the person who should be driving growth is trapped in operations. It costs the team's capability. When the owner solves every problem, the team never learns to solve problems themselves. The owner creates a dependency loop. The team defers because that's what they've always done, and the owner solves it because it's faster than teaching someone else. Over time, the team becomes less capable, not more, not because they lack talent, but because the structure never required them to develop autonomy. It costs the owner's health, and this is the cost nobody talks about openly. The owner who is the operating system doesn't just work long hours. They carry the cognitive weight of being the only person who holds the full picture. They go home and the business is still in their head. They take a holiday and they're checking their phone every hour. They lie awake thinking about the listing that might fall through, the agent who might leave, the settlement that's running late. The weight is constant because the business never stops needing them. And it costs the business's value. A business that depends entirely on the owner's presence has no standalone value. It can't be sold because without the owner, there's nothing to buy. It can't be handed to a general manager because the infrastructure a GM would manage doesn't exist. The owner hasn't built an asset, they've built a job. Here's the test I want you to sit with for a moment. If you couldn't show up for a month, not a day, not a long weekend, a full month, no phone calls, no emails, nothing, what would happen? If the honest answer is, it would fall apart, then what you've built is a dependency, not a business. I say, if you got on a plane tomorrow and didn't come back for 4 weeks, would the business be okay? And almost every single one of them pauses. And they go, honestly? No, it'd be a mess. And so I say, right, that's not a business. That's you. You are the business. And the question is, do you want to keep being the business? Or do you want to build something that actually works without you? So let's talk about what changes when operational infrastructure is installed, documented processes, CRM workflows, reporting systems, accountability structures. The business stops relying on the owner's presence to function. The same problems still occur, but they're handled by the system instead of routing to the owner. Here's what the owner's day actually looks like after. The admin team processes a new listing from start to live without asking the owner a single question, because the listing process is documented step by step and the team has been trained against it. The CRM shows every lead in the pipeline where it sits and what the next action is, without the owner needing to ask anyone. An agent has a question about how to handle a difficult vendor, and the answer is in the documented framework, not in the owner's head. The weekly performance report lands in the owner's inbox on Friday morning, showing exactly what happened across every part of the business that week. The owner didn't need to sit in a single meeting to know what's happening. For the selling owner, time goes back to the highest value activity, listing appointments, appraisals, client relationships, and the conversations that directly generate revenue. The operational load that consumed 80% of their attention is now handled by the infrastructure behind them. For the leadership owner, time goes to strategic direction, team development, growth planning, and the oversight that makes the whole business perform, leading deliberately instead of reacting constantly. Before infrastructure, the owner is in everything. Growth creates more pressure. After infrastructure, and the business runs and the owner leads it. Growth creates capacity, not chaos. The shift is from reactive operating to deliberate leading, from putting out fires to actually building something. And this isn't about working less. Many owners who build infrastructure work the same hours. They just spend those hours on work that actually matters. The shift is from reactive operating to deliberate leading. And here's what changes for the team. When documented processes exist, the team operates against clear standards instead of guessing what the owner wants. They make decisions faster. They solve problems without escalating. They develop competence and confidence because the infrastructure gave them the framework to operate independently. The best team members thrive in this environment. They want structure. They want clarity. They want to know what good looks like and be trusted to deliver it. An agency with infrastructure attracts and retains better people because capable people don't want to work in an environment where every decision has to go through one person. So how does Property Agent address this? We build the 4 things that are missing. Documented processes, so the team knows exactly how to handle listings, settlements, inquiries, and admin. CRM and pipeline structure, so there's one view of every lead. Accountability systems, targets, reviews, performance rhythms built in, and reporting visibility, weekly dashboards that show what happened without the owner sitting in a meeting. The owner is no longer the default solution to every operational problem, because our team becomes the operational layer the business was missing. That engine runs whether the owner is in the building or not. Every engagement starts with a full business audit that identifies exactly where the owner is acting as the operating system. Not everything needs to change at once. The audit shows what to fix first and what to fix next. The goal is a business that functions independently of the owner, built deliberately over time. What we're really doing is building the thing that should have been there from the start. Most agencies grew fast and never stopped to build the infrastructure underneath. The owner just kept absorbing more. We come in and build what's missing, so the owner can finally step out of the machine and actually lead the thing. That's the shift.
If what you heard here describes your situation, then in the description you'll find the next step. There's also more content there worth watching as well, and I will see you in the next one.
If what we've described sounds familiar, if you're the person everything routes through and you know the business can't run without you, book a discovery call at propertyagent.co. The first thing we do is a full business audit. It maps exactly where you're acting as the operating system and what needs to change. Whether we're the right partner or not, that clarity alone is worth the conversation.